although they were given 1 point instead of their score. So the new score is 21-11 to APAC, and that's a big deal. That's 5 points lost in penalties, and China are going to have to fight really hard from here to get back into this tournament.
Yeah, just to be clear, for those of you who haven't been following along all day, which of course you haven't, because that would be absurd. Who would be around for all day of this? There is a very good reason why players aren't able to use skins, because skins could quite easily be used as some kind of identifiable code as to who is playing which hero, which is something this tournament is trying to avoid. Streamer mode is enforced for each player, so they don't get to see who is playing which hero. When they mouse over heroes on the side, they're just seeing, Millhouse, so on and so forth from that point. So the only reason we can see the names is because we're just looking from a separate spectator client. They should have no idea who they're playing against, which means they're just as likely to kill their teammates as they are to kill their opponents. Using skins can help you send covert messages and so on to each other, so they have been in the rules since day one that you should not use skins, and this is a second offense in the end for China of just accidentally queuing up with some skins, so they have unfortunately been penalized. But now we are ready to get into lobby number 2, and we are seeing some Millhouse action, which is my favorite type of action coming out from Ireland.
And it's on Island Cat, and who we've seen that the APM is not going to be an issue, so you're going to have a great time with this one if he gets any sort of starting hand at all.
Good.
DeLonghi on the Hook Tusk as well. That could be pretty exciting. We don't know what tribes are in. Oh my goodness. Elementals are in the game.
Gimme that Millhouse. That's all I care about right now.
I mean, there's mechs as well. I realise that's not the Millhouse thing, but it means that Tavern 4 is going to... The thing we talked about all of day one, which didn't really happen because mechs haven't been in that much either. We are going to get the full-on proper Tavern 4 in this game.
You see here, La picking up Pirate, holding it on turn 1, playing it on turn 2 after the level, with the intention of just going 3-on-3 with Ysera, which is one of the generally agreed upon strong curves for Ysera. It just means you can immediately start rolling for those Tarot-Gosa, try and pick up a couple of Tarot-Gosa, ideally a Tarot-Gosa triple on Tavern 3 before moving up to Tavern 4, looking for the promo Drakes, and then from that point you are just going for that Nadina to finish out your comp. So it's not just a matter of buying every dragon you see with Ysera, it's those precision dragons that you want in particular. 3-drops and 4-drops. You want to get up there as quickly as possible. Pirate helps you get there.
And this is something I'd like to talk about as well, because this is a position that Tyler is in that I find very difficult to navigate. He's rolled the triple, but it's a pretty mediocre triple. It's an okay triple, you get the free roll. But he's going to have to do it, he's got it so early, he's going to have to do it over several turns at the cost of leveling. How's the best way to organise this early triple in the shop?
Yeah, I was staring at it, honestly, as I was talking. It was quite hard to think about one thing while talking about something else, especially at this hour of the morning. But my instinct was that it was bait and to just let it go, because a lot of the value that you're picking up from buying that triple, like generally you don't want to spend 9 gold on a triple unless it's also presenting additional value to you. So like tokens, for example, that's a very cheap triple that you can buy for 9 gold. And that is kind of the case with the Elemental, because you can get the free rolls out of it, but of course you can't get the free rolls out of it because you need to leave those minions there in the shop to buy them all. So my instinct was bait, but Tyler clearly disagrees, and we will see where he's going with it.
I guess you get 1 free roll on the... you get 3 free rolls on the turn you triple it, right? You get the 1 when you play the second one onto the board. You take the third. You take the triple. You use your free roll, and then you play the triple.
Yes.
So
that's
a
usually
way of
the best you can do.
3 gold back of your 9. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on how Tyler does here, because that does seem slow to me as well, instinctively.
We shall see. Tao here on the farm gets a really nice attack going first, picking up the spawn. It's not really going to help him triple anything in the near future, which he will be looking to do, but it will make him extremely strong for the coming turns. Yunjoy now on the Diablo going into the boss fight turns, not as strong as we have seen previous Diablos on this turn.
Has it been established yet what happens if the farm steals the 5/5? I want to see it happen.
I've never seen it happen, but I have
it's not
had
easy.
it's not easy. I've never had but I've had the option to like look for it with Tess, for example, and I assume it, it would just be as you expect. It would be a big minion that you can just put on your board, but it does have a death rattle that's just actively a downside for you. In most scenarios, the death rattle does punish you, but the reward does not reward you. So you don't just start getting two prizes at the end of every turn if it stays alive, but your opponent will get it if the death rattle goes off.
Damn it, foiled again. Okay, and this is where we're seeing how Tyler has decided to go for this. He is going to end up getting a 4 and a bunch of rolls.
Which looks okay.
On 4 is nice, right?
Oh, because he had Elemental start to begin with, right? Like, he had a full Elemental on his board going into that turn where he was looking at the 3/1/4s, right? Which I think in that case, he can break it down fairly easily, as he has ended up doing here. So I'm a little bit more on board with what Tyler's ended up doing.
His health total, though, shows why we were skeptical. He's already taking, decent amounts of damage every turn. Going to take a lot more here from the Diablo pit, so it does need to pay off for him. But again, we talked at the start, all of the 4 drops are in for once, and so it's a good time to be getting a 4.
I'm fine. Like, put me at 17, tripling into a 4-drop on that turn for Tyler, and I'll be happy with it. Like, as long as you are 1 or 2 above that breakpoint at the 15, I think it'll generally pay out. My bigger concern is that the gold breakpoint just didn't really seem like it broke down really well. But because, as I was saying, I was talking about something completely different, I completely missed the fact that he already had the Elemental on his board, which allowed him to smooth out the curve very nicely. And so I agree, just tunneling on that idea of tripling into a 4 as aggressively as possible.
Yunjoy doesn't get the full hand this time around as well on the Diablo, so she's already a little bit off the pace that you need to be on to do well with Diablo.
None of those are cards in any way, shape or form. DeLonghi does have a second one lined up in the shop. Both! None of those 6 were cards.
Right. I'm okay with Major Domo. I actually don't mind this card. I know it's not what you're looking for, but it's like one of the very good bad options, in my opinion. You actually do get to do some stuff with it, because...
Yes, I mean, I particularly with this board state that DeLonghi has, with Elemental, sell it, play the droplet, buy the Elemental, play the Elemental, sell the Elemental, play the triple droplet. Like, that's obviously a lot of power that she's gonna get with the Major Domo on the next turn anyway. I'm just saying there's a very clear division between the good hits and the bad hits when you go for that kind of stuff, tripling into a 4, and none of those options on either side were the good hits.
And yeah, just for those who haven't seen every Battlegrounds match, and again, where were you? And Collins, by the way, was saying that he has seen every Battlegrounds match, I think.
Okay.
We just haven't got to see anybody light spawning a lobby to death yet. No. It's been a very weird selection of tribes in lobbies, and when we have had elementals, things like Radu wiping everybody else out on turn 8 has been a thing instead of the avenge mechanics. So we're all desperate here to actually see the regular strong ladder play just in action.
Ooh, okay, that's a hit. Island Cap found the Nomi, is on 4 with the Millhouse. So the Refreshing Elemental is available, has been nerfed a little bit, particularly for Millhouse purposes. It used to just make the roll straight up free for every Elemental that you played. Not this one, sorry, I'm referring to. I imagine this will get a little bit confusing since he just played the minion that does make his roll free immediately. But the 4-drop version was nerfed, particularly with Millhouse in mind, because it just gave him way too much economy. So it now only discounts each roll by 1, meaning you do need to have 2 copies of it to be able to get that full discount.
Yeah, and you don't actually get the full discount either. You get, because it applies, no, you do get the full discount, you're right. It's the golden that it doesn't give you the full discount. The golden gives you 2 rolls worth of 1 discount.
Correct.
I saw XQN make up for that by having just put a grubber and a Peggy on the board and just proceed as if everything was normal. And in that situation, it's every 2 rolls as well. It's really funny.
That's why I like. I understand it was broken, but I was pretty sad when this ended up being nerfed for Millhouse, because the Millhouse hyper roll comps are my favorite thing to do in Battlegrounds and have been for quite some time since it became possible. Because that's the thing. You just get an engine. You just play the 1 elemental on your board. You use that to make all of your rolls free. And you can basically build any comp in the game from that point. You're not locked into elementals. You can choose to go anything. As you were saying, like, Peggy is a fantastic tool to go alongside that as well. So I think the world is your oyster at that point. I think you can have a ton of fun playing with it.
Yunjoy is definitely getting behind. She does have the bailout option, but she won't want to use that. She wants to save those for the next raid, but she's taking damage. Oh my goodness. All the things, Sottle, you go. I know you want to talk about this.
Double Gambler on the first Millhouse turn, looking for tempo, is pretty huge here. The breakpoints are a little bit awkward not having hit additional elementals here, because if Island Cat were to sell through here, he'd be selling up to 5 with the Gambler, which means he really needs to hit elementals bare minimum on the next board, which he does end up doing with this elemental. That's a very nice hit for Island Cat. If he'd have hit one more roll there without elementals on it, it would have been a very, very ugly looking turn with the way he committed to rolling through that free dealing Gambler, but in the end does get there.
I do imagine you're going to get to see quite a lot of Island Cat as well, with him being, as if I've read things right, the star player anyway, combined with we've seen him do the APM stuff already. I suspect we just keep going back to that one. Right, yes. PF trying to get and has got a Avenge build together. This is going to be pretty incredible, actually, with the double Acolyte if he wants it, and the Green Thumb just, again, engines is the word a second anything like this happens.
Yeah, cashes it all out for a 6, though, trying to power spike as aggressively as possible. Now trying to decide whether he wants the high-tier dragons or the high-tier elementals. Had options for both. And this is about as greedy as he could have possibly been on this turn. Not only did he greed for a 6, selling out his board and weakening himself in the process, he also then took a very greedy scaler off the 6 drop with the Nosy Looter as well. So he is very much intending to leverage that 31 health he has, basically saying, I've got a good chance of being able to lose 2 fights from this position without having any chance of dying. And it looks like that is going to be his reality as well, with the way some of these trades are going to be going.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to go super low. You stated early 16, 17 is the number, mainly because of the damage cap, but also that's kind of where numbers start getting safe. I assume that's why the damage cap was placed there in the first place. It's like, it's a lot of damage to take, but you don't want to ruin the game by taking 27 on turn 5 against a runaway Bran or something.
Slower lobby.
More to the point.
Slower lobby, it seems like, here a little bit as well. This was really around the time where we saw the Diablo murdering people in our last few lobbies that we've been watching. And looking at this board from Yunjoy, even this board plus a 10-10,
not happening this time.
Does not look like it's going to be doing a great deal of murdering.
So add to the list, if you want to have a really good Diablo, try not to have a really good Diablo in a Mex Ellie's lobby. Does seem to be maybe part of the theory.
Well, it's interesting because actually a lot of the times where I've seen Diablos be strong in my lobbies, it has just been because they've got hold of Meccano Tank, right? Which just allows them to be extremely tempo heavy and just go very, very aggressively winning those fights. As we saw RDU and so on do in the previous games with those massive Sorreless boards that they built early on. So I think having mechs in the lobby does open up a lot of options for Diablo to play tempo, but this is the downside of Diablo. This is why it's a tier 2 hero and not a tier 1 hero, because when you don't just roll and go, oh, the perfect stuff, I will just buy all of this, you don't have a hero power to give yourself a plan B. You are just stuck buying mediocre minions.
And the other heroes that don't have a plan B, which is, I don't know, Jandis and maybe Hooktusk, you avoid needing it, and Reno, you avoid needing it at source by not picking them when they're not going to be good. Whereas Diablo doesn't seem to quite have that option available to it. You're not quite sure if you're going to be strong or not because you don't know what Bob's going to do to you in those early turns. Whereas the others always have a bailout of some sort.
Yeah, there's one loot down already as the Ysera board on the other side from La 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 is being able to pick this apart. The big question now is whether Yunjoy can even win the fight and protect damage. Still has a single demon to summon, but it would have to be a heck of a demon, and that is the demon from that point to be able to fight off that board and actually end up winning the fight. Super high roll there for Yunjoy to avoid taking damage, which is a really big deal. Could be an extremely big deal if no one dies here as well, which is the case. So winning that fight off the one outer demon right there at the end meant that Yunjoy has preserved her health above that 15 damage cap, which means now she can be guaranteed to live one more fight, which is a massive deal to the way she can plan now to win or lose this lobby.
Yeah, especially looking at the board, like Domos are slow, but they do get rumbling. The Green Thumb, again, if she get that rumbling as well, might actually be able to get some stuff done. And she's looking close to getting a comp together with all the cards in hand that we can see. It's not quite a cohesive comp, but it's got the makings of going 2 or 3 different directions without giving up a lot of tempo, which is always the second best place to be in. The best place to be in is to be Millhouse with a million elementals and a Nomi.
PF is playing one of the most beautifully greedy games I have ever seen in my life. Like, he sold board to triple into a 6, took a nosy looter, which is one of the greediest possible 6 drops that you can take. From that point, has continued to triple and has picked up, off his nosy looter golden, he picked up a seafood slinger, which gives him another golden, into another seafood slinger, which has recycled him again. He's just been printing 6 drops, and so far, none of them have really got him anywhere. He does get to retain the couple of golden murlocs on his board, which will now pick up poison, I suppose, from that Sephin, but he really did not get particularly strong based on the amount of 6 drops he was offered that turn.
First time we've really had a good look at Tyler's board here, and he's got a lot going on here. He's already got a big pirate, he's got some divine shields and mechs, he's got the engine to draw some cards using the Nest Matron, and he's got a tank, so he's not going to take too much damage while he does all that. The downside, of course, he is down to 11. He's obviously been breeding to get into this position, and he may not be able to breed for much longer before picking up the card.
Oh, that attack was disgusting on the right-hand side. The Overkill Elemental coming through, killing the 2 biggest relevant minions on PF's side of the board, which meant the remaining Elemental cleared up all the 1/1s at the end, losing the fight. Tyler is able to pick up a big win on the other side, though, on the Silas. One of the weaker heroes probably in the lobby. Again, it's one of those pet heroes for some people, but is also hanging around that low tier 2 kind of ranking in comparison to some of these heroes that we're seeing. And now you're starting to see the Millhouse plan coming together. Even with that single discount on the roll, it's just so much gold that you can spend on minions and buff up these elementals to huge sizes. And double Wildfire now has been picked up. Those are the premium elementals that you're looking for once they get huge. The Cyclone and the Wildfires to actually have those special effects, actually create huge amounts of tempo for you. Island Cat is looking in fantastic shape right now.
Yeah, I am just sad that demons are not in for the ending where you take the Doomsayer and you just collect Fellbats, and then you stick 2 Fellbats down at the end and eat all the massive elementals. It's one of my favourite things to see, and we're not going to get to see it in this game at least.
Yeah, rare, I would say, that you have the time to make all of that stuff happen, but yes, certainly a distinct possibility. I think the more attainable version of that is just the mutinous elementals, right, where Mutinous can quite easily pump things up with either a Nomi or a Dazzling Lightspawn, and then you can just buy elementals, eat them onto Divine Shield mechs or whatever else. That's probably the more attainable version of that strategy. But you are right. The Fellbat, if you can truly afford to do the nonsense, will do disgusting things.
Yeah, I've seen it done. It has a
I've seen it done too. I'm not saying it never happens. So.
Just you don't expect it to. And you don't need to, right? You've won. When you reach that position, you're almost showing off by doing the Fellbat thing anyway.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because I think there is quite a lot of swagger in Mercenaries in general in terms of the top players showing what they can do. I think it's one of the things that Mercenaries can call it. Good.
You did. Yes.
Game with Hearthstone right now. There's quite a lot of that swagger about, like, I can do this, look at me, when you get to the very top level. Well,
Tao looking like he does not have the stats to be able to cope with what is happening on the other side of the board. No great surprise. This is not the conventional method. Well, I suppose this is the conventional method of making big elementals, but it's a method that has largely been outclassed by the 4-drop scaler, the Dazzling Lightspawn instead. But Millhouse finding that early triple into a Nomi. The lobby has made it all the way to this turn without anyone dying, but now 3 players going down at the same time. And it looks like the Millhouse is showing no signs of slowing down just yet, and it's looking very much like this is going to be a Millhouse Hook Tusk battle for top 1 supremacy, both of the players who have got the elemental scaling rolling.
We are going to see the thing you talked about earlier with the the light spawn being basically useless at this point because his elementals are too big. So you just abandon that entirely and just get on for looking for extra nomies and just keep buffing things and just not really caring, just go as big as you can, as quick as you can. It was interesting to see La 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 a minute ago, actually, because it's Ysera just doing the Ysera thing. And it's going to be kind of cool to see if it can keep up anywhere close to how these elementals are.
Yes, it's going to need a lot of Taragosa buffs for sure, and certainly the Nadinas are going to need to come in clutch. And even then, you might need one of those high roll fights where the Divine Shield goes off, you attack perfectly into the Taragosa, give it Divine Shield again, you just attack perfectly into the Taragosa, like one of those frustrating Deflectobot style fights where you just keep hitting the Divine Shield over and over again as it keeps refreshing, because this is a disgusting amount of stats. Now the 0 mana rerolls are coming to effect. Second Nomi available now as well. Good sequencing. He rolls past it. He would have hit the triple immediately on the first roll. You always cope at this point and say that's the same Nomi as the one that you never bought in the first place, just to be able to talk yourself out of that.
Exactly. And that is exactly what I do. Just quickly looking right, though, DeLonghi has managed to get the huge Master of Realities. And when I say huge, it would take
big.
down 2 of Island Cat minions in one go, basically. So, although her other minions are tiny, it's going to be interesting how those two match up against playing each other, because those breakthroughs we're talking about are going to be absolutely key.
And this is the dynamic that I was talking about, that I was expecting to see a lot more of, and it's really taking us to this lobby to see it. Firstly, because everyone was been even more tempo focused than I expected, and secondly, because we just haven't seen that many elemental lobbies. But when I was talking earlier about the dynamic where people will play Mechano tank boards and there will be 1 or 2 elemental players in the lobby who will laugh at those Mechano tank boards, this is what you expect to see, right? The Mechano tank players climb as high as they can until they get matched up against an elemental scaler, and then they die because you cannot possibly compete with that. That is a huge dub for the Sneed player, Jinbei in this position, surviving at 1 health, because that's his elemental fight that he's got through. So he now has the nice, comfy reward of getting to fight someone who isn't an elemental player in this position and potentially pick up an extra space or 2. Bad news,
however,
it's a Golden Taragosa, Golden Promo Drake on the other side that he has to face instead.
Yeah, from where he's sat at the moment, all 3 of his opponents have got basically the exact same thing. A bunch of stats that he can't get through. That's the short version. It's whether you want to tank into a dragon or an elemental doesn't really matter. There isn't a type advantage.
And again, production not directly interacting with me, but I really hope we stick with Island Cat on this turn, because he now has the matchup against DeLonghi on the Hook Tusk. This is the showdown that we've kind of been waiting for against the 2 big elemental players. Island Cat, however, is doing absolutely revolting things this turn. Not only did he take the second Nomi, he had the Tavern Tempest available, he's had free rerolls going all the way through, he hit the Hamul, which meant that he can take and play all of this stuff. He added, what, plus 20, 30, something in that region to his elementals this turn? Yeah, he has a 44-41 on his board from the start of the turn, and he has 77s on his board at the end of the turn. That's how much he's improved his board by in that single solitary turn. 100% win now against the elementals on the other side. Not even close.
Going back to what you were saying about his pirates, yes, did you notice in the middle of that description while you were describing exactly what was going on, managed to sneak in just one moment where he just got 1 Ragnaros buff because he temporarily had 2 spots open. So
yeah,
with Ragnaros elementals sell it. It's just those little things that it doesn't matter. It's another +3 or something, but sometimes it will matter, and those are just so clean for me. He's obviously practiced mechanic so much.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance? That is 1 poison boy over on the right-hand side, and if the rest of this can be cleared up, he lives! Not only does he live, he wins, and not only does he win, it's lethal! That's insane!
3.0%. Right, now do it again.
Now do it again, but everything you drop has to have poison for the entire fight.
Yeah. Twice.
twice, and a ghoul while you're at it. So you buy a 2-drop, you hero power it, so that drops the ghoul, and then you get as many hero powers on 5s as you can. Easy fight.
But given that a minute ago we were talking Jinbei's against 3 people he can't beat, and he's in 2nd place now out of 2. Like, you take those.
I did also say earlier that if you're playing Sneed, you do get to skip the part of the game where you have to transition out of tank comp into a comp, because tank comp is just your comp. It's just ridiculous levels of drops that you can get out of this position. Did Jinbei just take a Nadina, drop it on his board, and then just hero power? I mean, I guess he has 1 drag. Okay, fair enough. He does have 1 drag.
I suspect he will have definitely seen what Millhouse is doing. He knows it's Island Cat. He knows it's elementals. He knows it's been 6 or 7 elementals every turn since about turn, I don't know, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I think he knows exactly what is about to happen to him.
I would expect so too. The only question is, will the tracker even give him 0.1? No! Tracker says it has seen all 13 million outcomes here, and Jinbei loses in them all.
I think Jinbei didn't know exactly what was going to happen. He had an idea, but I think he was maybe a little surprised by the magnitude of how ridiculous Island Cat board is going to be. The Island Cat is clearly going to take down his, at least, I'm pretty sure it's exactly the 2nd win of the tournament. Jinbei's like, what am I supposed to do?
Lose.
Why did Divine Shield kill any of these things?
Because he played Millhouse Elementals. You know, Lorinda, I've shown you in our Discord the results of many of my Discord Elementals games. I have high standards for Millhouse Elementals. That board was thick. I will absolutely give it up to Island Cat there. That was a super, super clean game of the Millhouse Ellies. And again, it's that high-speed decision-making, right? Clearly does enjoy these APM comps, is very comfortable with the APM comps. We've now seen him on Miracle Pirates and Hyper Roll Ellies on Millhouse. But the impressive thing, again, is not the APM, not the raw speed, not just being able to do the thing. That's a mechanical skill that you can just learn with a few reps. It's that up here, his brain is working as fast as his hands are. So the little micro decisions that you have to optimize during those turns, he's getting the majority of those right as well. There'll always be questions, little tiny micro optimizations here and there that you can argue about or maybe spot something. But if you can get somewhere near 80% efficiency while going absolute maximum full speed, that is going to win you a lot of lobbies, and that is certainly what we're seeing from Island Cat, who is winning a lot of lobbies.
Something he's practiced, like I pulled out the rag play there, but he did it yesterday as well with Bran, that sort of would come in and out of the board. He'd take a Bran, get a couple of extra buffs out of it, lose it again. All those little decisions he's obviously got into his head very clearly. I hold this, at some point I'll get a triple, then there'll be a 5 minion board, then I can do my little Bran thing for 2 or 3 cards, and then move on, going back to the basic thing. And all that little stuff just makes me happy to see. Of course, I can't do it. I like to see things I can't do. It's good. That's why I like watching you cast, sort of. Anyway, enough of being nice, because it's that late. I've actually been polite.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether that was a compliment or just a massive self-burn that you can't cast, so you just like watching
it has to be a
else do
compliment
it.
in that situation, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
fair
unfortunately.
Enough,
because I'm not going for the massive self-burn. Self-burns, yeah. Anyway, moving on. We'll get the score set up in a minute. I'm going to have a look.
Yeah, so what did we get? We got Island Cat in first, Jinbei in second, DeLonghi in third, La 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 in fourth. So yeah, I was going to say that probably means we are almost back to square one, because that was a big lobby for China with picking up a 9-pointer and a 5-pointer there.
I think that's
with
just
first
this
and fourth.
lobby.
That is
It's
just
only
this
1
lobby,
point.
sorry. Yeah, you're absolutely
So
right.
they are still like 9 behind because of the applied penalty, which was 5 points, I think, in the end. So still got it to do, but they're showing, and we've seen it
my
before.
mistake. I was not factoring in the penalty when I was that, but I thought the gap was still quite small from the opening lobby, but it was not. I forgot all about that penalty that came in. So yeah, they're going to have to put in a much bigger effort than that in the third lobby. But still, Island Cat putting in the work for the team. La 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 putting in a good performance as well. Closing the gap ever so slightly, if not quite as much as I initially thought. And that means that it's going to be on the line in that third lobby with, what, a 10-point gap? A 9-point gap, which needs making up between the two teams, which is very attainable. We've certainly seen gaps of that size come out before.
Yeah, it sounds a lot, but the second you get first and second, and like you randomly organise the other 6 players, suddenly 9 points isn't much at all. Yeah, so we have got that maths right. That's good. And we've seen them do it before. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Americas in the first lobby yesterday, and that was I can't remember how many. It was like 17 points or something. So it can definitely be done, and APAC are going to need to be on their toes. But I think the APAC players are playing very solidly from what we are seeing so far on the screen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, to me, they were the biggest unknown, or at least some members of their team were unknown to me coming into this. Obviously, Tyler is a friend of mine, former teammate of mine. I'm a big streamer in the Battlegrounds community as well. But some of the other members of the APAC team were unfamiliar to me. I actually have more familiarity with some of the China players than I do with some of them. So they were perhaps the biggest X factor going into this for me, but I have been impressed with some of the plays that I've seen. Again, some of the plays that didn't even end up really getting paid out or rewarded, I think on average have been pretty smart decisions overall. So I think this is all certainly up to play for in this final lobby.
Yep, so DeLonghi is WESG winner. She was the player who beat Baby Bear in that final 2 or 3 years ago in China, in the WSG finals. Jinbei is a huge streamer, but I had no idea about his ability in this game, but he's a very popular streamer. And the same for Yunjoy. I watched her playing the game the other day, and again, her MMR was very low, but she was demolishing every lobby, because she was clearly either hadn't had a chance to practice or was on a Smurf account or something. I don't speak Korean, so I was just watching the games. And it was obvious that I had no idea. I knew she was above the MMR that she was displaying on the screen just by how easily she was killing everybody, but I didn't know where that was going to top out. And I think they've all shown that they can hold their own against this China team so far.
Yeah, it's like when I co-op games down at Raven's MMR, right? And I just walk him through to first place every single lobby.
Yeah, he's just gains 400 MMR. I wonder if he's lost it all back yet and sunk down to his natural level.
I imagine so. And he's off playing Mercenaries, which is a game mode that he is inexplicably incredibly good at, and yet somehow will never get the opportunity to cast.
No, he really is. Like we keep on about this. It is going to be such a shame if we don't get to see Raven cast Mercenaries, because he's genuinely like one of the top tiers of the game, outside of the very, very best. He's right up there. I think he reached like 9th or something on ladder, before slipping down to sort of a more steady top 50.
Yep.
And we're never going to hear him cast it. I really want to hear Raven just lay into you for an hour and a half at all your mistakes while you have to host him.
That's genuinely what would happen if we cast Mercenaries. He is much better than me at that game mode, and I am not ashamed to admit it. But I believe we do still have a few minutes to go before we get into the last Battlegrounds lobby. So you can take my word to the bank on this one. We will just take a very, very quick break, and we'll be back as soon as possible to bring you the final Battlegrounds lobby of the day. Don't go anywhere, guys.
back once again to the Hearthstone Global Invitational, and we are about to go into game number 3 of the China versus APAC match, with APAC leading by 9 points. And that's a big deal because they are 2 points behind in the overall standings for the whole tournament. If they win this, they will catch China up. That's also a big deal because if you win the league, you get straight into the finals. If you come last in the league, you get eliminated. And all that just means that they need to hold on to this lead for one more lobby. Do you think they're going to do that, Sotul?
I mean, I would be exactly. I mean, 9-point lead. We mentioned it before. It's not insurmountable, but it's significant, right? Like it would not be a smart bet to take the other side of this in this position. I think China have shown flashes of brilliance, mostly through Island Cap, but they haven't demonstrated a big enough gulf that I would expect them to be able to overcome that big of a deficit on average. So certainly, I would say APAC is in the driver's seat. And it's just going to take a couple of big performances from a couple of players to really lock this one down, right? If they can get 2 players in top 4, that will probably be enough to seal things down. And as I said, I gave you my word, chat, that we would be back in a timely fashion. And here we are. This is why you always trust the reputable journalist that is Simon Sotter-Welch over here.
Yeah, just trust him. Just whatever. China here have not got the start that they would like here. This is an appalling set of heroes. All 16 are kind of not top tier unless you rate Bran, if it happens to be a big token lobby, I would say. They're not bad, but oof.
Yes. I mean, again, going back to that situation we were talking about, right? China needs to make up a 9-point deficit, so they're looking for firsts. Reno, not terrible in that kind of scenario. Reno is very first or last in a lot of regards. I do think the better players squeak that average up a bit by understanding how to take middling hero power options to scrape a 4th, 5th, 6th. But generally, that spike into high roll potential is certainly there with Reno Jackson.
And I was going to bring up, if we didn't go into the game quite so quickly, about Tyler and how well Tyler has been doing. Because we've given RDU a lot of credit, but I think Tyler's been silently doing very well in this as well. I couldn't give the exact numbers. But Tyler is on Edwin in this lobby. He's going to have to earn his points in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Edwin is one of those heroes where you will be able to find someone that says Edwin's fine, because they have put in those 10, 20 lobbies with Edwin and they have got good results and they feel like Edwin is an underrated hero. But as I keep mentioning, you'll be able to find someone to generally make that argument for basically every hero down to about 4.4 average win rate, right? Once you get all the way down there. That is a nice role for PF here, though. If he wants to be able to go for it, he might even just decide to turn it down as bait in this scenario. But again, with the way the lobbies have panned out, it's kind of the 6-drop lobby again if you want to be going down that route. Maybe 5s for Mama Bear, but once again, no mechs, no elementals, really cutting out that tripling into 4-drop strategy, which is so prevalent when either of those are available.
And importantly as well, we touched on it earlier, but it matters now. China can't afford to not win the lobby. So suddenly holding on to try and get some 6-drop triples is a lot more attractive, even if you have to take a risk to do so.
Yes.
As long as the whole team does that, by the way, because if one person goes and wins the lobby and the rest of you sort of messed up and come last trying to win the lobby when you could have just won the event with 3rd, 4th, 5th or something, then it's a disaster and they don't know how each other are doing. But yeah, I think they will all be setting out to have extreme results one way or the other here.
Interested as to where Yunjoy ended up with that Malagos, because it was a very interesting role. I think Malagos in double token lobby, which this one in particular is, and I do mean the pure tokens, as in the Murloc token and the Beast token, is actually very competitive with a lot of some of the best heroes in the game. And Yunjoy had the opening where she did hit the tokens and rolled it into a pair, but it was a very weird pair. It was a pair of Sunbacon Relaxers, which is a very strange pair to want to hold on to for a long time. So I'd be quite interested as to where she has ended up with the early curve. Just looking at that tracker on the left-hand side, it does look like she has stayed on Tavern 1 for now, looking for those triples, which is generally the way you're going to be going, playing Malagos as budget Hook Tusk, basically, in that scenario. But I'm just be very interested to see where those Sunbacon Relaxers have ended up.
Very amusing to me how low people stay these days, but very good cause. It's Bran, Malagos and Sneeze that are able to take that. Tyler's game is going to be very interesting. He actually sold a token last time to get the +4 +2. So he is going all out tempo at the cost of some gold, which might be interesting to see. With Edwin, I think you have to do that, but it can get you in a world of trouble, as Island Cat once again has amazing stuff going on.
Would not be at all surprised here to see him play some of this out, but just hold on to the triples themselves for multiple turns. Would also not be surprised to see him not level this turn, even though it's very efficient for him to do so, and it would feel like he wants to get up the tiers as quickly as possible. There is a school of thought here that says, be greedy, stay low for an extra turn, and look for another potential triple with the tokens, with the Bran, and so on before you start going up to actually be able to play those token minions on the board. But it looks like he is just going to be happy with what he has provided so far, using the Swabby there to be able to actually generate a board while basically getting all of his gold back immediately. Swabby is free with Bran as long as you use that gold to level in the near future, which Island Cat is absolutely going to do here with the way this game is panning out.
And next turn is turn 4. There's no Diablo. What happens then? Who do you fight?
True, and I imagine these lobbies still work the same way as the regular lobbies do, right? Where someone is being offered Diablo and someone has turned it down for one of these heroes, the way it's worked out. So it's kind of interesting because we have certainly seen whether, we can continue to have the argument back and forth as to how strong you think Diablo is. I think it's one thing we can all agree on is it's certainly having a warping effect on the way the metagame is being played out in this tournament, which I think is being pretty interesting to look at. And as you said, what that means now Diablo is not available.
Yeah, something that is worth keeping an eye out throughout this tournament. I have been keeping an eye on it is the Cookie and the Sneeze, because they're guaranteed offers as well. If they fall on the same side, that can often be quite good. It's just 2 guaranteed, very good heroes. However you want to class them, I'm not bothered, but very good I'm going to go with. Enjoy starting to motor up through the levels now, as you would expect. And
tripling into a 4 in one of the weakest possible lobbies to do so is kind of interesting to me. She's still at 35, no real reason to start protecting massive amounts of health here. And in this particular lobby, as mentioned, no mechs, no elementals. There's not massive high roll spikes, really, to look for those 4 drops in this position, whereas, waiting one more turn finding Mama Bear, for example, could have been a massive win condition for her in the future.
Yep, and it may be a function of APAC's position in the match, where just don't come last, and we'll be all right. So that's a relevant factor. Maybe she's throwing in there. She was getting a little bit weak, and again, I'm pretty sure that normally the 4 there is incorrect, but maybe with a match score, it mitigates it somewhat.
Looks like Tyler has found himself a triple into a Hydra here, which is a wonderful hero power target for him over the coming turns.
Yeah. Boom. Take that, Bran. Boom.
Nice hits, though. Yeah, really big hit to trade back into the Hydra on the other swing, taking that damage off the board. Quote, only taking 6 in that scenario. I think he'll be more than okay with that, as he is trying to go up through those ranks, holding out for that triple. Did end up, as I mentioned, only taking the 1 triple, which means he does really need to make it count here. He wants this to hit as hard as he possibly can. We did see people going for Golden Bran in the previous turns on that Bran, but he is just going to take the immediate Begurgle here for stats, which I favor a lot more heavily. Can now trade the Gambler for the Swolefin and get a pretty thick-looking Murloc board down this turn.
Something that's quite hard to distinguish amongst the very top players, because they all do it so well, is the economy. But Island Cat always just seems to have more money than everyone else. He's always got a pirate to trade away, or a card in hand, or something. He just seems to manage the money incredibly well, even at this high level. He just seems to have money to burn the whole time.
Yeah, and if you want to look out for a sign of an efficient player, another thing is that the last thing he tends to do on almost every turn is buy or play a minion. Generally, if the last thing you do on a turn is roll, you probably could have played that turn more efficiently, because spending your last 1 gold on a roll is functionally setting 1 gold on fire, because even if you hit something with that roll and have to freeze, this is a mental trap, and people will argue with this, but I am right, I promise.
You are, yeah.
Functionally, that roll and freeze is exactly the same thing as not rolling at all and just hitting the roll on the previous turn that you lose by freezing. So if you can do something else with 1 gold instead of rolling at the end of a turn, usually that is more efficient to do so. And I think that has, again, been a sign of Island Cat's play, that he very rarely has looked inefficient with the way that he's been spending his gold.
Yeah, I end up rolling a lot. And again, I'm okay at this game. I'm not putting myself down for the sake of it, but I do find myself stuck sometimes. Oh, I've got the gold, I have to roll now, rather than finding something better 10 seconds before. And you'll see with Island Cat, he does pause a lot at the start of turns before doing anything. Well, he's not the only one, but as he's been having success with DeLonghi is starting to run out of speed very low. She doesn't seem to pick anything useful up along the way, and now she's taking a lot of damage because she's only got very low speed drops. So something's got to change there very fast.
Speaking of something has got to change, La 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 needs to make this happen. 2 good options there, Mama Bear and Hogger, but we have seen this Chinese team favor this Golden Hogger out, and particularly with the Gambler in the shop, that is immediate gold profit and a ton of gold profit that can be picked up that turn off a single minion. 1 more Hogger now, but there is still the problem. You still have to get to 5 to find that last Hogger. I think with the board full of Murlocs that La 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 had available, he would have been looking for Bran there first and foremost. Since he's now found the Golden Hogger, he is going to have to look for some way to either just use this big boost of stats to defend and just climb and look for a kind of 4th to 5th place, as we've been talking about, or he's going to need to find the turn to go to 5 and then find that 4th Hogger, which will actually allow him to pop off.
Yep, next shop, absolutely key for La La La. It'll make his decision probably a lot easier when he sees that shop, because these Murlocs, now that he likely isn't going to be in Bran at any point, they're all going to have to be sold off and replaced by more useful minions very soon.
Mm-hmm.
So you enjoy who did take that 4, has now got herself a Zephyr as well.
And this is the problem with taking the 4 in that spot, right? Is because there aren't any outright win conditions on 4, really. There are some, but let's, rule out the obvious ones with the Avenging Ellie and with the mech tank. Yes, she got some tempo from the high main, but you then have to mentally reset and go all the way back on the following turns to, okay, now I need to find a win condition again. Whereas you could have, gone straight up to 5, for example, or tripled into a 5 looking for a Mama Bear. You would have had that win condition available. You could have lent on that for the majority of the game after that point. It does look like the way she's played it, to me, has just set her back a little bit behind the play.
Yeah, I think so too. Just keeping an eye on this Lich King. There was what looked like a buff Taragosa. I may have been wrong here, but the makings of a dragon comp with the shooty dragon, whatever that's called, at this time in the morning. Because they're all promos or protos, so it's probably a proto Drake. At the end of the
3/5 deal 3 when a dragon attacks.
Yeah, so it's got the
Presto.
makings of a dragon comp. He's got the one that gets bigger right at the very start. It just levels up, but every time you level up, it doubles. I'm losing the names; they've all gone.
It's the fact that, again, you'll never hear me criticize casters for just using descriptive terms instead of the names of the card. What's funny is how bad your descriptive terms of the cards are. Yeah.
My brain doesn't function in the same way as other people. We just have to accept that. Okay, we are going to get a look at the Lich King as soon as he's made this decision on the 6 drop, and then we'll get a clear look at what I was trying to say. But I don't know if there was a Taragosa or not. I did catch a quick glimpse of the other dragons on the board.
La 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 not leveling, by the way. Not leveling at 20 with the entire lobby alive. So that was essentially a free level that turn if he wanted it. He did take Lorinda's favorite bait, which is picking up a Salty Looter. It is obviously a lot more. It has a lot more merit to it in that position when you have Golden Hogger than it does in some of the spots that I've seen Lorinda pick it up. But still, might have just wanted a 5 there, or a level to 5, I should say, with the extra security he had with the 20 health.
So there was no Taragosa, but there is a 6 drop on the Lich King now, and he has just gone for some tempo this turn because he's leveled so fast.
Yeah,
he's going to go for basically 3 zap attacks. He hasn't actually made the decision. He keeps hovering over giving the Reborn to zap, and actually changes his mind here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because although that looks like he's just put Reborn on a strictly weaker minion because of the Prestor that he has, when that attacks, he's actually dealing 8 damage to something, right? So technically, if you really want to get tricky about it, he has Reborned a bit of extra power there.
Sniped into the big dragon, though, giving some chance for the Sneeze to survive here. Pew's really, really good, isn't it? Anything that goes Pew
really strong
on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, defining a dragon as this is good enough that I will take it as Ysera while rolling for Tarragosas and Promo Drakes. Yeah, Prestor is up there. You would tend to pick that up as Ysera.
So, quite get there in the end, but held on, didn't take too much damage, and he is on 6. So, looking through the levels as of last.
He's not right. The Lich King's only on 5, I believe. Yeah, the zap came from a triple. I believe he is only on tier 5 still.
Yeah, he is on 5. But looking on the left-hand side of the leaderboard, remember that they've got to make this back. China are looking ominous if the health totals are anything to go by, which is a bit of a bad way to judge how someone's doing in Battlegrounds, because everyone does try to milk, but this hasn't been a particularly milk-heavy lobby because of the missing elementals and mechs. So the people with higher health totals are the ones who've tended to scale up quite well and just get to the top and have some big things hanging around. I think that it's a lot more representative than a normal lobby because of people trying to just get big quick.
Now you're really picking up your MUPM, Lorinda. That's what I like to see. That milk use per minute. That's what you got to get up there when you're casting Battlegrounds.
Island Cat just playing double Cali. Something you just don't see anymore, but it's looking immensely dangerous.
Honestly, this has been the weirdest lobby that I've watched so far from my perspective. Like, we're seeing double Kalagos Bran, which is a real throwback. Kalagos tends to not be able to win lobbies at all anymore. If you can get 2 of them very quick, yep, sure, it'll absolutely still get there, but seeing Kalagos come out is a bit of a throwback. I'm still confused as to why the Golden Bran player is insisting on staying down on Tavern 4 instead of, going up for the potential ability to win the game outright with the extra Hogger. There's been the triple into the 4-drop, which I didn't quite vibe with at the time. There's been a lot of slightly strange things going on in this scenario that I did not quite understand.
Maybe go with the fact that this one was quite delayed and the players are probably a bit stressed, they might be a bit tired, hanging around a while. Maybe mistakes are starting to creep in, or maybe you're just rubbish and they're all great. We'll see.
Also possible, yes. But, from my perspective...
No, but genuinely, I agree.
That is what the Reno player kind of resigned himself, to doing, is that staying on 4 was never going to get him into a position where he would get big enough to fight someone who'd hit a real comp. And everyone in this lobby is an extremely strong player who will hit a real comp. So at what point did you expect to be able to beat that by staying on Tavern 4? Especially because there was that free turn, right? There was the turn that was available where you had 100% safety to go to Tavern 5 with 20 health and everyone's still alive. I was a little bit weirded out that it didn't happen.
Did end up getting 8th place with that Reno after using an early hero power on a good minion as well. That's even stranger. DeLonghi didn't get there with the sneeze. She did get miles behind very fast with that and got outscaled by everybody. So not a big surprise. So one of each team down. So still everything to play for. 9 points is still doable.
Yep, 9-point deficit needs to be made up by China if they are going to overcome the odds in this one. So still parity largely maintained, and actually still a little bit of an advantage going towards APAC, you would say, because the longer the lobby continues to go like that, the more difficult it actually becomes for China to then overthrow the amount of points that they need to.
Yeah, and even though I'm counting them as the same, APAC have picked up another point. Look at the 2 last places, so it is actually a 10-point deficit, I guess. Right, what's going down? So Enjoy's finally got a semi-established comp of some sort in the making. Tao looking pretty strong there on the left. It's a bit muddled, but when it's muddled with a Bran, it unmuddles very fast. It's just going to be some Murlocs going up very fast. But will he go for the triple?
Yeah, it's not pretty, but it's certainly a lot of numbers, right? There's Promo Drake and Taragosa on the other side, though, which is a big deal. The fact that that did not one-shot the Amalgadon is not relevant because the second follow-up Dragon attack will be able to go through. And now I think from this position it's going to be all about these poison hits and where they go. That one bites the dust to the Pew Pew Dragons. That is so much damage being carved into it. It goes right, though. That's a value trade. Oh, no! But it hits it right back again, which means the Cookie is going to live to fight another day. Tao shaking his head there, not because he's dead, not because he really cares about taking 7 damage, but because he knew he had the chance there to kill a golden Taragosa player, which is a golden opportunity missed on the other side.
Yeah, and as he doesn't know this yet, but obviously it was an APAC player as well in Jinbei, so that would have been absolutely massive, and he'll be hoping that isn't the case. Does get the Ghost now for his troubles. We haven't seen many people playing its Ghost in the whole tournament, it feels like, but he is going to get this Ghost, and that's a little bit of much needed time just to tidy this comp up into something a little bit bigger, and he has done exactly that.
Yeah, the reason we haven't seen anyone play against Ghosts is because everyone just dies 4 at a time to Diablo, so there's never any odd number players left available to fight Ghosts.
Absolutely. Solved.
Mm-hmm.
PF wondering which of this cornucopia of minions to give the Reborn to here.
Yeah, ends up going with the Mama value. Of course, he does have his hero power that he can continue to give an additional Reborn to. Going over to Tyler now, interesting, continuing to buff up his Baron, and he is deep into Froggies at this point. Does have the Baron, which makes them borderline playable, but I think a lot of people underestimated how big of a nerf it was. Of course, the exponential growth is still there with the Baron, with the Parrot, with everything else you can get. But halving everything is a really, really big deal when you break it down from what it used to be.
Absolutely, and other than that stuff going on, he is a 1-unit Andy, or 1-unit Tyler in this case. That giant-ish Hydra, although it's not as giant as the Golden Taragosa on the other side. Definitely dodged that for a while.
That attack was huge, by the way. He was very threatened there by having his Froggies chain get interrupted because one of his death rattles was getting stuck on the far left on a minion that value traded. Since the attack went straight back and started the frog chain again, he's now in a position where he is almost certain to win this fight from this position. Absolutely certain now from this point. And now the Golden Taragosa player does bite the dust. What China was not able to do to Jinbei, APAC ends up doing, cannibalizing themselves in the process. Kind of appropriate for Cookie the Cook, I suppose.
Yeah, Cookie is a terrifying piece of lore across all of the formats, I think, right now. Just seeing other people, I don't know, scares me. Poisoning in mercenaries.
Genuinely wondered where you were going to go with that for a second. Could have gone anywhere.
Okay, absolutely. Tyler, of course, in a normal lobby would be delighted with his situation on Edwin because he's already top forward with power to add to that, but he does need to pull something even more special out and take that all the way if they're going to have a very good chance of winning this.
Oh, just the 4 Callies now for Island Cat. All right, we're fine. We're chilling over here. 4 Callies, 2 Amalgadons seems normal. Totally normal game of Hearthstone Battlegrounds going on over here. Nothing to see. Move along.
Can we just have Radu versus Island Cat head-to-head for like the whole week? See who can make the most nonsense happen.
4 Mallies, 6 Meccano tanks.
Yeah.
What wins?
Right. Tao having to make what feels like excruciatingly difficult decisions all the time. I don't think they are particularly hard, but he's agonizing over a lot of them because he's had to try and get the health up on these, which should be easy with a brand, but he's never had any gold really to work with. He's got no engine to cheat anything. He's doing it the old-fashioned way, and the old-fashioned way is kind of slow these days.
It is a little bit, yes. He's in that interesting position as well where he's got such a significant amount of attack on some of his Murlocs that the poison ends up being redundant, right? Like, I'm sure he was been begging for that, for whatever poison he got first, not to go to the Swolefin, to go anywhere else instead, because a 72 attack Swolefin in that position basically already had poison, which is a little bit wasted. And now with the high health on everything else, there is a significant opportunity that he might miss out on some poison value. Wonder if it was ever worth moving his Amalgadon into a position where the plants would then attack to get some of that more guaranteed avenge value. Didn't end up mattering, and I believe if that was a regular rat, which it was, he is going to get out of this one alive, but so is his Lich King opponent. Yeah,
I feel like he hasn't really been in a spot to take too many liberties. He might just be getting there now, where he's kind of been fighting for survival the last 2 or 3 turns. But now it looks like he has got down the corner. He's finally got the poison established, and he can just concentrate on the easy part of buffing the health totals because you have a brand.
I will confess my eyes were more focused left, but out of half of my eye, of which I only have one good eye at the moment to talk about, so using an entire quarter of an eye, it did look like, because Island Cat had 2 Murazons, one in board, one in hand, he just rolled past a bunch of stuff looking for exactly Murazond, even though he has 4 Callies on the board.
Interesting.
That is some next level greed we are talking about.
Oh, but who did he play against last?
I'm not sure.
I wonder if he played against a person with a double crystal, because that would make sense with his board. He needs some Divine Shield defense.
I can see that, yeah.
That's all I got. Tyler did finally get knocked out with that Edwin again. Under normal circumstances, 4th on Edwin is a great result, but not enough in this lobby where they're needing to pick up a lot more points to win. I feel like they haven't got there now the way this is going, no matter what happens from here.
Well, I think with Silas, Silas is
the opposite,
Taotao, right? Silas is Taotao, so this is a 1-2-3 from China from this position. So they've done absolutely everything that they needed to do, and this one is going to come down right the way to the wire. I can't even call this one off the top of my head. China have done everything that they needed to do to make this one close.
Yeah. I don't want to add it up. I'm stuttering a little bit with the broadcast. I'm just going to leave it to the judges. I made the call yesterday, got it right exactly. Today, I'm not going to put myself.
So again, we're in that scenario where, once again, the players do not know what the situation is here. They don't know which player is playing what. They are on streamer mode. The names are not displayed. We've already had the issue with skins potentially being a bit of a giveaway earlier on. That's not a factor now anymore. So for all they know, each of these China players is up against 2 APAC players fighting for their life. We can see, top down with the view of everything, that it doesn't actually particularly matter which one of these takes it home, but still, with these beast comps going up against each other, it'd be interesting to see what comes out on top and whether the beast scaling can catch up to this Bran, which I fully suspect is not the case with the amount of Kalagos action we have going on over here.
I'm just about to make the call, but I'm not going to. I've changed my mind again. It's really close, so let's just go on to watching if Island Cat can make massive things going on, I guess. I'm going to go and add it up quiet.
Certainly can, yeah. No Baron on the other side. There are multiple Wolves, there are Reborn, there are multiple Reborns as well with the Rattler and the Hero Power. But without that Baron for the extra growth, I think just the raw stats, maybe if we can get absolutely perfect cleaves going here for Island Cat, for PF, then he might be able to make something happen. With Island Cat having in mind that he is going to be playing against beasts here, which is information that he will be able to see just from mousing over, maybe separating the cleaves here wouldn't be a terrible idea, just to play around that option of a big Hydra coming down and being able to cleave both of them. You do have to start thinking about loss conditions in this position, because you'll generally think that most conventional pan-outs of any fight will go in your favor right now, just because of the sheer numbers that you have on your board.
Yeah, it is only a one-off fight as well. Not enough health totals to have a titanic tussle, so we are going to just find out right now which one of these players takes them down. I feel like Island Cat's hit something there.
Spoilers, it's the one whose numbers are like 6 times bigger than the other one. That's who's going to win in this situation.
I've been trying to work out whose numbers are the biggest out of the 2 teams and distracting myself at the same time. I'm reasonably sure that China have got it done, but the 1 point at the bottom is confusing. add it up on screen. You've got 9 for first, 1 for last. That is 10. You'll get a 7 and a 6. That's 20.
Yes.
APAC got a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, which is what, 14.
Which is 14. 23 minus 14 is 9.
So that would be a tie.
That would be a tie, indeed, if we have got that correct.
All right. So that's why we thought it was. I'm glad our instincts were, this is really close. I'm not quite sure what to call this one. If that is correct, that explains a lot. But another great round from Island Cat, who is starting to give us some hope that we don't have to call RDU the best player of the tournament. We, of course, have a lot more Battlegrounds tomorrow and a lot more Hearthstone today. Did anything catch your eye in that round, apart from the obvious Island Cat stuff?
Yeah, I mean, everything Island Cat did, super fascinating. Going up with only one triple banked with Bran was very ungreedy, but then he proceeded to play the rest of the game extremely greedy. Greedy is a word that I kind of think I always thought we've needed a replacement for in Constructed. I think even more so that is true of Battlegrounds, because everyone takes the word greedy to mean a negative connotation. I don't think that's generally how it's used in a lot of situations. Like, I think a lot of people say, oh, this play's greedy, but it's just strictly correct, like it's just a line that I have to take. So whether the word greedy is the word we should be using, I do think that greed and then lack of greed in different places from Island Cat was super interesting to look at. Also, what was going on with the Hogger, like what the game plan was there for the Reno overall.
Right.
Maybe that out of just first rolling on 5 into the 4th Hogger could be the difference between this potential tie that we think it is and actually being a clean win one way or the other. Which is very, very interesting to me. Again, I think, as I said throughout, that was the lobby where I had the most question marks above my head as to some of the plays that I was seeing made. I think everything else that I saw, even the stuff I disagreed with, I would stop, I would think about it. I was like, okay, this makes sense. I get why the player's doing this, even if I necessarily wouldn't have done the same thing. I can totally get the logic behind what player X or player Y is doing. In that lobby, it just felt like there was some weird decisions going down, and again, that might just be a product of where we got to. We do now see the result of the lobby. We do see 23-14, which I will check one more time. Yep, that's 9. That math checks out. So now we'll see that final scoreboard coming out. 53-53 at the end of it all. Great performance from China to bring it all back around at the end.
And of course, this was the exact cast where we spent the whole time at the start talking about the fact it's never a draw in Battlegrounds.
Apart from when it is, which, yeah.
Apart from when the cast occurs, is it?
For anyone in chat right now thinking, what's the tiebreaker, blah, 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 there isn't one. They just tie. So the results for the overall standings for Battlegrounds are either 2-0 to either of the individual teams if they win the lobby clean, or in this very niche scenario, there you go. That means that they tie and get 1 point apiece, and that means we now pass forward to Constructed and Mercenaries to split the difference between APAC and China. Great way to round out Battlegrounds for the day. We've had a bumpy day for sure. We've had some ups and downs. We've had a complete lack of Mercenaries on stream up until this point. But I think that was a great way to round out the Battlegrounds for the day, because you cannot ask for a better set of lobbies than that, coming down to a total tie at the end of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I do actually want to shout out Tyler. I think he's done wonders for this team over the last 2 days, especially there. Yeah, I don't know what his other choices were. We only really had time to look at China choices, but he ended up on an Edwin. They must have been bad. They might not have been terrible, but they must have been bad. And he snuck a 4th place with that Edwin, which is pretty vital, if you like. Okay, a lot of his teammates were actually 5th, 6th, 7th as well, so he could have finished any of those spots. But everybody finishing ahead of that Reno got him that point and gave him a chance to do the whole thing. Yep, 1-1 sets it up beautifully for the next 2 disciplines.
And you just imagine the elation from the Chinese players here is, again, coming down to that scenario at the end where they had that 1-2-3 in the final lobby. They would have known going into it that they needed something like that to tie or win the series. They would need a 1-2-3 or a 1-2-3-4, something along those lines. But each individual Chinese player did not know that the other Chinese players were in that top 4 with them. So the player who finishes first would have been thinking, okay, job done, please tell me one or two of these other players in the top 3 with me were Chinese. The second place player was probably going, okay, not good enough. Like, everyone else would have to be China in the top 3. Like, I needed to win this lobby for sure. And then suddenly, one by one, they all hit the realization that the top 3 was China, China, China in that final lobby. And they have snatched a point from the jaws of defeat in that final lobby for Battlegrounds, and giving themselves a very, very good chance of still perhaps taking down that top seed going into our finals day.
Yep, and just having a look at the end of this, while we're just talking about absolutely nothing while we're waiting for the break to start, I just want to pull you up on, or talk to you about the definition of greed.
Yeah, sure.
I think in Battlegrounds it has a real definition. Greed is sacrificing health for stuff.
Okay, no, I can get on board with that, but still, like, particularly when I'm talking about like streamers playing the game, I suppose.
Right.
People in their chat will say, "Oh, this play was greedy," meaning I don't like this play, right? Like, that's generally what that means. But I think in Battlegrounds, you are right. Like, that is probably a better way to go about it, because greed sometimes, and quite often, in fact, very often, good in Battlegrounds. I think we've seen a lot of greedy plays being rewarded.
Well, we do have a turbo countdown, apparently. I'm not confident, Scottle, but we're going to get out of here. We're going to get the constructed up in hopefully 4 minutes, 35 seconds.